Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's edition of The Goldie Show, where we are continuing part two of the Islamic regime occupying Iran having a complete and utter meltdown. They are literally freaking out. They are turning in on one another. I spoke about this yesterday. I did. But now I actually have exclusive footage for all of you, which pretty much shows that President Trump has put the Islamic regime in a checkmate position. And the supporters of the Islamic regime don't know what to do with themselves. They've gone wild. They're going out in the streets and they're calling for the deaths of various Islamic regime officials and politicians. Before we get started, let me know in the comments if you're watching live in the live stream chat where you're tuning in from. And if you're watching this after the fact, let me know in the comments under the video where you're tuning in from, because I'm always curious to know where our viewers and everyone is watching from. As always, I'm Goldie Ghamari, former Canadian politician, current geopolitical analyst, and human rights activist when it comes to Iran. And you are watching The Goldie Show. All right, guys, let's just dive right in because I have so many videos that I want to share with you guys, okay? Like, it is wild. It is wild. Like, I know that I said yesterday. So, guys, by the way, this is part two of yesterday's live stream, okay? And in yesterday's live stream, I was pretty much explaining and describing how the Islamic regime is having a meltdown. Well, this is why the hashtag Goldie is always right is very popular, because right now, I actually have the footage to show you that they're literally freaking out. And I love this footage. I love it. And I'm enjoying it very much. But this is a kind of footage that you're never going to see in mainstream media, right? Because mainstream media, they just don't know where to look. And when it comes to Iran and when it comes to the Islamic regime and when it comes to the dynamics of the Islamic regime, a lot of people think that, just because they have a big following or whatever the case might be, that they know what they're talking about. Yeah, no. If you want to talk about Iran when it comes to geopolitics, and if you want to talk about occupied Iran, that's literally expert mode. And no one knows Iran and the Islamic Republic occupying Iran and the geopolitics of the area than those people who have been focusing on Iran, who have been raising awareness about Iran for the last several decades, including myself. So I am so excited to share all of this footage with you. Let's get started with the first one. So all of this began because President Trump, you know what? Actually, I should probably start by bringing up President Trump's Truth Social, because when I tell you that President Trump is literally trolling the Islamic regime, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. So, look at this. So earlier today, President Trump posted, Barack Hussein Obama's deal with Iran, he means the Islamic regime, the JCPOA, was an easy, beautiful, smooth road to a nuclear weapon, which Iran would have had 6 years ago and would have used long before now. And I agree. Guys, as soon as the Islamic regime gets, access to a nuclear bomb, they are going to use it. Like, that's not even in doubt. That's not even a question, right? Like, without hesitation. So, and then he continues, my agreement with Iran, he means the Islamic regime, is the exact opposite, a wall to no nuclear weapon. In fact, they no longer want a nuclear weapon, nor will they have one, either through purchase, development, or any other form of procurement. Now, here's where it gets spicy, guys. Here's where it gets interesting. And I'll explain why. So President Trump continues. The deal is scheduled to get signed tomorrow, and immediately after it is signed, the Hormuz Strait is open to all. Our relationship with Iran is a much different and better one than previous administrations have had. Guys, when President Trump says his relationship with the Islamic regime is better, that doesn't mean that he's on good terms with the Islamic regime. What he actually means is that it's better in the sense that he's actually protecting American interests, right? So unlike Barack Hussein Obama, who actually signed a deal that enabled the Islamic regime to advance towards a nuclear weapon, President Trump's relationship is a better one because he's actually preventing the Islamic regime from acquiring nuclear weapons, right? That's what he means by better. It's better for the United States than what Obama had. Then he continues. Unlike Obama's hundreds of billion dollars in payments to them, including $1.7 billion in green cold cash, no money will exchange hands. At the appropriate time, when all is calm, we will go in and get the nuclear dust buried deep under the powerful sunken granite mountains, thanks to our beautiful B-2 bombers and their brilliant pilots, and downblend and destroy it, whether in Iran or the United States. So President Trump is basically saying that the United States is going to go in and take the nuclear dust. And then he says, we look forward to working with Iran and the entire Middle East long into the future. Hopefully, this process will all work out quickly, easily, and smoothly. If it doesn't, we have the ultimate alternative. He's talking about boom booms. Hopefully never to be used again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, before I continue, I do have to put in a plug, okay? Because, there is a lot of talk about, nuclear and, nuclear dust and like uranium enrichment and, downblending and destroying it. And guys, like, I'm not a scientist, okay? Like, I'm not a science person. I'm, international trade lawyer, politician, geopolitical analyst. So, like, I don't actually really know what like nuclear dust is. I don't really know what it means to like downblend or destroy it. I don't even know the difference between like regular nuclear like we have in Canada, because like in many countries we actually have nuclear power plants, right? And they're used for energy and stuff, right? But I don't really know the science behind it. So I can't really explain to you what like nuclear dust is, or what what it means to downblend, or how to destroy it, or like how you even create that, like what the differences are. Because there's a lot of talk about like 10% versus 60% versus 100%. However, I am personally interested in learning more about the science behind all of this, because there's so much talk in the media right now about, nuclear enrichment, uranium, nuclear dust, downblending, whatever. So tomorrow, guys, if you're interested in learning more about nuclear, tomorrow, my sister, who is an aerospace engineering professional, she's actually doing a live stream on uranium enrichment, right? So if you are interested in learning more about the science behind all of this like nuclear boom boom stuff, I suggest that you tune in. I'll put the link to her channel. Actually, let me just click on it here. So this is what's happening tomorrow night. I'm going to be joining her as a special guest. But yeah, like if you're interested in learning more about the science behind all of like the nuclear boom boom stuff, there is the link. I don't know if she's gonna. Well, okay, so Garth is saying, is she gonna show us? I don't know if she's gonna show us how to enrich uranium, but she's going to talk about it, right? Like she's going to explain sort of the differences and like, you know, what's like a regular nuclear power plant versus like, you know, the secret underground, like terrorist jihadi nuclear plant that like the Islamic regime built like under mountains and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, like if you're interested in learning more about the science behind that, definitely like follow her channel. And wait, let me just add this to, I know I shared it on some of my social media platforms, but I don't think I shared it on all. So let me just make sure that I share the link on X and on Rumble as well, because she only goes live on YouTube. So let me just put the link in the other chats as well. Just a quick plug-in. Like, I'm actually really excited about her live stream tomorrow because, you know, as like a geopolitical analyst, you know, like I talk about this stuff. And, you know, I kind of understand like the basics, but I don't know the science behind it. So I'm actually really looking forward to her live stream tomorrow. So, okay, here we go. Let me add it to Rumble. All right. So the link to her live stream tomorrow night is there. I'm going to be joining her as a special guest. You know, so if you're interested in learning about the science behind all this nuclear boom boom stuff, make sure that you join us tomorrow night. All right, so that was my little plug-in for my sister. She's an aerospace engineer professional. Guys, I'm telling you, she's literally the smart one in the family, right? She's literally the smart one in the family. I'm like the black sheep. She's a smart one. So yeah, make sure you follow her if you're interested in science and stuff like that. Obviously, it's not mandatory, but anyone who's interested in going on like a class field trip to learn about nuclear boom booms, you're welcome to join her live stream tomorrow night. Okay, let's go back to President Trump. So President Trump says that, you know, hopefully this process will all work out quickly, easily, and smoothly. And if it doesn't, we have the ultimate alternative. And by the ultimate alternative, he obviously means, you know, the military action. And there's a reason why there's a reason why we've literally seen the largest movement of military assets into the Middle East since the Iraq War, right? President Trump is not moving all of these military assets into the Middle East and the Persian Gulf area, you know, for the fun of it, right? There's a reason. And this goes to his whole foreign diplomacy strategy of peace through strength. Okay, having said that, so this post from today has set the Islamic regime and their supporters on fire. They are literally freaking out. They are going after one another. Guys, in the last in the entire existence of the Islamic regime, which is 47 years, we have never, ever seen anything like this. So I'm going to share videos with you and I will translate them myself from Persian into English because it's wild. Like, it's wild. Okay, let's start with the first one here. So, as President Trump announced, he has canceled planned strikes on Iran and said an MOU deal is close. Regime supporters in Ardabil chanted "Death to America" at a pro-government gathering. Guys, remember when I told you there is no way that the Islamic regime can sign this deal and actually survive? Because the entire philosophy of the Islamic regime occupying Iran has been this "death to America" narrative. So the fact that President Trump is now saying that Ghalibaf and Araghchi are agreeing to sign this deal, this is making it very, very awkward for them. So let's listen to this. Let's listen to this video, and then you tell me if the supporters of the Islamic regime, and guys, keep in mind, about 5% of the Iranian population supports the Islamic regime. 95% oppose the Islamic regime. The reason that the Islamic regime is in power is because of the fact that they are armed and they bring in their terrorist proxy militia groups to murder and suppress Iranians, like they did back on January 8 and 9 when they slaughtered over 40,000 innocent unarmed Iranians in 2 days alone. So what you're seeing right now, keep in mind, like you have to have that perspective, okay? First of all, what you're seeing is, I don't know, maybe like, I would say maximum, like maybe 5,000 people maximum, probably closer to like 2,000 people. And I just want you to think about that. 2,000 people in a country of 90 million, right? However, these are the people with the weapons. These are the people who are able to come out and protest against America, right? Because when regular Iranians come out to protest, they're murdered, right? The Islamic regime literally uses anti-aircraft missiles to shoot into crowds and mass slaughter Iranians. So let's watch this video. So this is the reaction tonight in Occupy Iran by the supporters of the Islamic regime to President Trump saying that the Islamic regime is going to sign a peace deal tomorrow. Let's listen in. Let's see what they're saying. So they're saying Magbad America, which means death to America. There you go. So the supporters of the Islamic regime are chanting death to America. Does this sound like a regime that is willing to, I don't know, concede? Is willing to, I don't know, end its death to America ideology? Absolutely not. Guys, the Islamic regime is in a checkmate situation right now, and President Trump knows it. The reason President Trump is, pushing this, oh yes, we're coming to an agreement, we're going to have peace, it's going to be amazing. The reason President Trump is pushing this on social media is because he knows one of the fundamental pillars of the Islamic regime has been its never-ending jihad against the United States. Because back in 1979, when Jimmy Carter and the Democrats helped to overthrow the Shah and helped to install the Islamic regime, as soon as the Islamic regime came to power, they immediately turned around and called America the Great Satan, and they took Americans hostage for 444 days, and they started chanting death to America. One of the main ways that the Islamic regime has legitimized its existence has been this battle with America, right? This death to America, whatever, jihadi nonsense, right? Because the Islamic regime, the revolution didn't end in 1979. Their revolution began in 1979, and ever since then, they have been trying to export their revolution, their Islamic jihad, around the world. So the fact that President Trump is now going around saying that, yes, we're going to have a peace deal with Iran, the Islamic regime, that has triggered the supporters of the Islamic regime, because their existence literally depends on attacking the United States. And you've seen it on Durka News Network. You've seen it on Islamic Regime State TV. But let's continue. Let me show you some other videos of the Islamic regime literally freaking out. So they are literally chanting. Okay, so let me just bring up the Boom Boom Bingo sheet first before we continue, because I know many of you are new, and I do want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because there's a lot of info here. So I always want to make sure that we're on the same page. So this is Araghchi, okay? This is the guy that President Trump posted on his Truth Social. And I will get to that. I'll get to that. President Trump was actually very smart. Like, the fact that he took a screenshot of Araghchi's post and posted it on his Truth Social, that's basically a death sentence for Araghchi. Because now Araghchi looks like a traitor to the Islamic regime supporters. Araghchi is a foreign affairs minister, okay? I don't know for how long, because who knows how long he's going to survive. But so this is Araghchi. So now, literally, because of what President Trump posted on his Truth Social. Actually, you know what? Why don't I bring up his Truth Social post first so that you guys can see what I'm referring to. So yesterday, guys, this is wild. This is wild. And this is where the analysis is really important, because when President Trump took a screenshot of Araghchi's X post and put it on his Truth Social, a lot of people misinterpreted this as, oh no, President Trump is he's giving in to the demands, he's agreeing with the Islamic regime. Oh no, President Trump is folding. No. It's the exact opposite. President Trump knows what he's doing. The fact that President Trump posted Araghchi's message on X on his own Truth Social, this makes it look like President Trump and Araghchi are on the same page, which means that the supporters of the Islamic regime are going to view Araghchi as a traitor. So President Trump posting this, he knows that he's literally endangering Araghchi's life. And President Trump doesn't care. President Trump knows that if he does this, people are going to call for Araghchi's head. And 24 hours later, that's exactly what's happening in occupied Iran. The supporters of the Islamic regime are now calling for either the resignation or the death of Abbas Araghchi, because they now view him as a traitor. Because in their minds, if President Trump is, quote, posting you and agreeing with you, well, that means that Araghchi is on the same side as the great Satan. Araghchi is on the same side as the people who exterminated their beloved supreme dictator, Khamenei. Remember Khamenei? He was boom-boomed on February 28th. He was exterminated like the garbage that he was. And by the way, they still haven't buried him yet. They still have not buried him. So, going back to this post here. So President Trump posts this, and how does the Islamic regime react? Well, oh no, wait, I closed my tab. Sorry. Where's the tab? Okay, no, wait, that was that one. Okay, I think it's this one. All right, there we go. I have so many tabs open. So now people are literally calling for the death of Araghchi. These are the Islamic regime supporters. So let's listen in. Let's see what they're saying. So they're saying Ghalibaf, Araghchi, istiqbal, which means basically, so this is oh wait. So this is Ghalibaf and this is Araghchi. Okay, so on the Boom Boom Bingo sheet, this is Ghalibaf, this is Araghchi. And the supporters of the Islamic regime are basically saying resign. Resign. Why do they want Araghchi and Ghalibaf to resign? Because the supporters of the Islamic regime now view these people as traitors. Because anyone who wants to sign a peace deal with the great Satan is a traitor. Guys, I do see that there are a number of super chats. I will get to them after my analysis. So we will absolutely go to the super chats when I'm done my analysis. So feel free to keep them coming. We will get to them. I just want to get through the analysis first. But having said that, it is 8 o'clock. if I'm not mistaken, I think Mark Levin. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like, is Mark Levin about to go live? Let's see. Because Mark Levin might have some stuff to say. Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. So Mark Levin is apparently going live soon. So we are going to tune in and see if Mark Levin has anything to say about Iran. But anyway, so let's go back to this video. I'm going to keep an eye on Fox News 100%. And yeah. So okay, so here's so now you know what they're saying. So people like the Durkas, the Islamic regime supporters, are literally marching in the streets tonight, and they're calling for the resignation of Ghalibaf and Araghchi. Why? Because they want to, supposedly they want to make a deal with the United States, the great Satan, the murderer of their beloved Ayatollah. May he rot in hell. Okay, Mark Levin is starting. Let's go to Mark Levin. I'm curious to see if he...
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Well, there's a lot going on, isn't there? Changes almost every minute. Well, I think I owe you an explanation. When I speak to you from this incredible platform, I'm blessed to be able to do so. Same with my radio show. There are really so few of us who have such an incredible opportunity, and I do not take it for granted. On the contrary, I view this as an opportunity to share history, philosophy, and yes, my opinion with you and our fellow Americans. I think hard about what I'm going to say. I dig deeply into the facts, books, essays. I treat each of you as you'd want to be treated, as I would want to be treated, as intelligent, patriotic Americans, people who believe in faith and family. Rush Limbaugh told me a long time ago, never underestimate the intelligence of your audience, and I never do. My audience is you, not politicians, not the press, not some group that wants to put you in a category or uses slogans or whatever it is. That's of no consequence to me. And too often there are some who see all of us as a team this or a team that. I'm on Team America, just like you, Mr. and Mrs. America. Those who stand up with America stand with us. Those who don't stand against us. My principles haven't changed since I was a young man. My values are as they've been from the very beginning. And this is my approach and thinking when I discuss the situation with you involving Iran. History is the greatest teacher. Unfortunately, too many people believe the world begins today, and I'm including politicians for sure. And therefore, all wisdom and knowledge are whatever we think it is at a given moment in our lives. There's no perspective. There's no context. Just the latest news cycle, the price of a gallon of gasoline, the fluctuation of the stock market, and so forth and so on. There's lots of talk and lots of debate about a memorandum of understanding, a deal, negotiations. Will it hold? Will it not hold? Or military action, past or going forward. Should we take that action or not? Every opinion that I've shared with you about the Iranian regime is based on its history, our history, and the history of our dealings with it and its dealings with us. It's also based on a deep understanding of the regime itself, its ideology, Islamist roots, intentions, goals, and operations. I have said here many times, and I will repeat it again, that the West, and that includes too many decision makers, does not comprehend what we are dealing with. We are not dealing with a typical nation state.
That's what I've been saying.
Or even military. We're not dealing with a regime that views diplomacy as a way to work out differences and avoid war. We are dealing with a cause. That is, this revolution is the only reason the Islamist regime in Iran exists. It is the only reason why there was a revolution in Iran in the first place. It does not seek accommodation, compromise, coexistence, tranquility, or peace. It seeks war and destruction as the only means to achieve Allah's command, which is to conquer and destroy any and all non-believers.
That's what I've said.
The late, great Bernard Lewis, who was one of the greatest scholars on the Middle East and particularly Islam, one of the greatest who ever lived. And yet I bet you never heard of him, and he's never been discussed. He wrote many books and papers on the subject, which I dare say are mostly collecting dust. Lewis warned that the Iranian regime believes a devastating holy war will usher in the return of a messianic figure, the 12th imam that we've talked about here, making catastrophic conflict a desirable outcome for the regime rather than a deterrent. A catastrophic conflict, quote unquote, a desirable outcome for the regime rather than a deterrent. That is their cause. That is their reason for existence.
That's what I've been saying.
We are the enemy. Yes. We are Satan. We must be destroyed. And it is non-negotiable. And by that I mean the regime will lie and cheat and deceive and sign deals, but all of it is a means to an unalterable end. In plain English, it is nothing but performative and manipulative. Lewis also explained, as I and others have, until we're blue in the face, that negotiating with the Ayatollahs or any part of this regime now was utterly futile. He argued that true peace would only come with the collapse or defeat of the regime and its replacement by a government chosen by the people.
Yes.
Hence, as I've been arguing for months, that somehow, some way, we must arm the Iranian people. And you would think that after dealing with this regime for nearly half a century, our intelligence agencies would know who to arm and how to arm them and how to help them. If we have the will, there is a way. We did it during the Reagan administration on multiple continents, and it led to the ultimate collapse of the Soviet Union, which was far more powerful than the Iranian regime, which is on its back right now, thanks to our earlier joint military operations with our closest ally, Israel, thanks to the wisdom of our president. Bernard Lewis famously dug up the writings of the Ayatollah Khomeini, the founder of this movement and regime.
He's a
who
pedophile.
was treated like a demigod by the regime. And when he was in exile, he wrote, that is, before the 1979 Islamist revolution in Iran, and Lewis found the Arabic and Persian texts of Khomeini's lectures, now known in English as Islamic Government, which would later be called Khomeini's Mein Kampf, named after Adolf Hitler's 1925 manifesto.
That's why I call them Muslim
foundations of Nazism while serving in prison. Well, Khomeini did the same. And I should add that my own independent research discovered Khomeini's embrace of both Adolf Hitler and Vladimir Lenin. I've written about this. I've talked about the fusion between Marxism and Islamism. And you see this spreading worldwide, and you see it spreading in the United States of America in our communities. And the hub is now within the Democrat Party. Now, as historian Martin Kramer explained, what Bernard Lewis found was a work of unrelenting extremism, promising a harsh and purifying Islamic regime worldwide. Lewis struggled to get Washington and the New York Times to take it seriously. Sound familiar? Many wanted to believe that Khomeini would fade away if the monarchy fell. Of course, Lewis was right, and Iran ended up with a clerical dictatorship. And even more, the equivalent of the Nazi SS, in the form of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This isn't
Islamic
by accident.
Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's not Iranian.
This isn't by accident. The purpose of the IRGC is to defend the regime's clerical and theocratic system. That's why it's slaughtering its own people. It cannot be challenged, let alone protested. It must never be denounced. But Lewis also saw hope in the Iranian people themselves, as I do, and have stressed time and again. He argued that the Iranian people were, quote, increasingly pro-American, seeing the United States as the counterforce to a tired and calcified regime, unquote. Lewis insisted that thought of any deals or accommodations, I'm quoting him from years ago, that thought of any deals or accommodation with the regime should be rejected. The American goal should be, quote, to undermine and eventually replace it, unquote. Now, you see, when I mention that, it's, oh, he's a warmonger, a neocon. He's a Jew looking out for Israel. This is what I mean, Team A or Team B. Or we get the line, we're not always aligned with Israel, you understand. They want to take out the regime. We want a deal. They're not always aligned. I don't get that at all. In other words, it's not enough to defeat their military in Iran. The regime itself must be pulled out by the roots. And the only likely way that can happen is if the Iranian people, who are overwhelmingly opposed to the regime, get the kind of clandestine support that they need. What does all of this mean? It means that a memorandum of understanding, from my perspective, or a final deal will not matter to the Iranian regime. It will not matter to the Iranian regime, even if they sign on the dotted line tomorrow, the next day, whenever, or if they're bombed into signing one or the other or both at some point. They will never abide by any of it. They cannot, because as a matter of religious and political ideology, doctrine, they will not, in the end, bend to the demands of the great Satan. They will not bend to the demands of the very people and society and government they exist to destroy by any means necessary.
I literally just said that.
They would be committing an act of defiance against Allah, for whom they are committed to die. We and they are on two totally different wavelengths. Totally different wavelengths. They view the act of diplomacy as a last resort, but as a resort to survive, for them to survive, and ultimately for us to lose. Khomeini wrote, and I quote, Islam says, whatever good there exists is thanks to the sword and to the shadow of the sword. People cannot be made obedient except with the sword. The sword is the key to paradise, which can be opened only for the holy warriors. There are hundreds of other Quranic psalms, the hadiths, sayings of the Prophet, urging Muslims to value war and to fight. Does all this mean that Islam is a religion that prevents men from waging war? I spit upon those foolish souls who make such a claim. That's a direct quote. The Imam throughout his life called America the great Satan. He believes that all the Muslims' problems were caused by America. The entire foundation of America, our country, the Judeo-Christian values and beliefs, the Enlightenment, our Declaration of Independence that we celebrate, the 250th anniversary in just a few weeks, our beloved Constitution, they're not only completely incompatible with the Iranian Islamist cause and revolution, but they're all to be destroyed along with us. So, from my perspective, any MOU or deal might be adhered to by our government for a while, but it will not be adhered to by the Iranian regime, period. That's the history. That's the evidence. Putting everything I just said aside, show me the evidence where they ever adhered ultimately to any deal. Show it to me.
I've said that.
We're attacking them today in one way or another because they wouldn't.
That's literally what I've been saying.
And they haven't. What will change now? Maybe during the course of the next 2.5, 3 years, whatever is left of the Trump presidency, they will, but they're not going to ultimately. President has stated again and again that Iran must never have a nuclear weapon and it must never have access to enriched uranium. He stated it, and he's trying to do something about it, that if they had a nuclear weapon, he said again and again, they would use it against us and Israel. And he's 100% correct. The detractors out there, whether they're Democrats, Islamists, Marxists, media, whomever they are doing a grave disservice to our country and providing enormous support for the enemy. And he was right to order a military attack against the Iranian regime to prevent it from getting any closer to having nuclear weapons. And it was enormously successful. We and our partners, Israel, fighting side by side. It didn't take long. It didn't take long to put them on their backs, to destroy the essence of their military. But then we entered into a ceasefire that lasted 9 weeks. It was routinely violated by the Iranian regime and Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in Lebanon, which fired thousands of missiles and drones into northern Israel. Israel's prime minister is no patsy. Benjamin Netanyahu defends his people as our president defends us. And he did just that by ordering his military to take decisive action in Lebanon against Hezbollah, because the Lebanese government and army are unwilling or too weak to act. The Lebanese people despise Hezbollah. Hezbollah has killed more Americans, including our Marines, than any terrorist group until 9/11 and Al-Qaeda. Iran controls Hezbollah. So then Iran fired 11 ballistic missiles into Israel, and Israel responded with military force, even though they were advised, don't do it or don't overdo it. Well, Iran then downed one of our Apache helicopters, and in response, we hammered the hell out of them for 2 nights. And we were prepared to go a third night until an MOU was said to have been agreed to. And there are reports out there that Saudi Arabia, which was involved in 9/11, Qatar, which was involved in 9/11, is the #1 funder of terrorist groups around the world and has poured $400 billion into our country to undermine our educational system. Turkey, whose genocidal dictator Erdogan gave a speech a few days ago declaring he seeks the annihilation of Israel. And Pakistan, which is friendly with Iran, apparently urged us, according to reports, not to continue with military strikes. Well, whether they did or not shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter. That's not aligned with us in our needs, in our decisions. I see the relationship between our president and the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, as a FDR-Churchill relationship, as a Reagan-Thatcher relationship. History will write us of a Trump-Netanyahu relationship. I continue to believe that we should finish the spectacular military achievements we have won, arm the Iranian people, and get it over with. I truly do. The mass murdering death cult that is the Iranian regime is not going to commit suicide.
Islamic regime.
It's not going to do, through diplomatic means, what we want it to do. It's just not. I fear what happens 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, where our children and grandchildren are going to have to do what our generation must do. It's our generation's obligation. The regime is the warmonger. We are the freedom lovers. This is our 250th year of independence. Our great founders show us the way, and I believe firmly our president is the man not only of the hour, but of history. We'll be right back.
Wow.
This program is brought to you.
That was so good. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that I decided to tune in to Mark Levin. Pretty much everything that he just said, I agree with, because that's exactly what I've been saying for the last, I don't know, not just several months, but several years, right? The only thing I disagree with is the part where he called it the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, because it's not. It's called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created by the Islamic regime in 1979. And a lot of people make that mistake. They assume that the I in IRGC stands for Iranian. It doesn't. It stands for Islamic. Guys, even in Persian, right? So let me pull it up. So when you look at the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, okay, so their logo literally says Sepah Pastaran Enqilab Islami. So that like Islami, okay? Not like there is no indication anywhere in their logo of Iran. Literally, IRGC stands for Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Some people want to call it the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps because, you know, they're afraid of Islamophobia. Oh no, we can't call it the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps because that's Islamophobic. That's going to offend the Muslims. I don't care. I don't care. That's the official name. That's literally the official name of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's not the Iranian Revolution. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created to protect the Muslim Nazis from the Iranian people. Okay? That's why the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created. So, probably an honest mistake, but still it's frustrating. It's, you know, as an Iranian, it's frustrating because there is nothing Iranian about the Islamic regime. They are literally anti-Iranian. They're anti-Iranian. The Iranian identity is literally counterintuitive to the Islamic identity. That's why the Islamic regime is trying to erase the Iranian identity. Because the Iranian civilization is a threat to the Islamic ideology. Because the Iranian civilization existed for thousands of years. The Iranian civilization is pre-Islamic. Guys, even the Strait of Hormuz, okay? Hormuz, a lot of people think, oh, Hormuz is maybe like an Arabic name or an Islamic name. No. Hormuz is an Iranian name, and it's derived from Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is the name of the Zoroastrian deity. Okay? So the Strait of Hormuz, that's not Islamic. That's Iranian. The name Strait of Hormuz has existed for thousands of years before Islam was invented. Right? Oh, he's back. Well, is Mark Levin back? I'm a little bit behind on the commercials because I'm like, you know, looking at this on the internet, but sure, we'll go to Mark Levin. Oh, there we go. Okay, he's back.
We're here with what I'm going to call now America's general, retired 4-star Army General Jack Keane. And you've seen him on the network a lot, and for good reason. As events change, as negotiations change, General Keane, what do you make of the current state of play with the announcement that we had a deal, then the announcement that the deal that they're talking about is not the same deal, that they're lying about it? Maybe we'll have another deal. And then if we get the MOU locked in place and signed, then there's another 60 days of negotiation and so forth. What do you make of what's going on right now?
Well, clearly, the president has selected a diplomatic path, and it's going to be challenging, to be sure. I totally agree with all the substance that you delivered in your monologue. This is a diabolical, ideological-driven regime that wants to survive, number one, and two, is fundamentally committed to their ideology. And it brings into question whether they're capable of making the deal, number one, and number two, whether they would ever implement it and hold to the tenets of the deal. And the reason is why we have skepticism about it, because it doesn't support their ideology. That's the reality of what we're facing here, and how significant the challenge is with this diplomatic path. You and I preferred the other option. Finish them with as much military capability as we can, weaken them so much militarily and economically that they would be on a path to eventual collapse, where the people would be able to, in time, deal and put in place a different leadership and regime. That is not the path we're on now. We're on another path. And that path is certainly going to be challenging. But the president will not make a bad deal, in my mind. And that's why if anybody's going to be making a deal with the Iranians, it's him. And the construct of this has got to go beyond his tenure as president. It has to have enforcement in it to hold the Iranians accountable to the tenets of the deal. This is going to be very challenging, to be sure. And look what we're dealing with. The Iranians are consistent in the sense that one part of the government says we agree, and another part of the government says we don't agree. And then when it comes to watching what they do, which is more about who they are than what they say, look at what they've been doing since the ceasefire on April the 8th, attacking in the Straits of Hormuz repeatedly, attacking U.S. bases, attacking allies and partners, all in violation of ceasefire. And then what is taking place in Lebanon, and they unleashing Hezbollah inside of Lebanon to attack over 2,000 rockets and drones into northern Israel, forcing the evacuation of those towns and villages, over 300 people wounded. And on top of that, Iran executes 11 ballistic missiles into Israel, all in violation of the ceasefire. And let me make a point here, because it's very important. As we move through this deal, we should try to separate Lebanon from the Iranian deal. And the reason is very simple. The most significant lesson learned from 9/11 was this: we cannot let radical Islamic organizations like Al-Qaeda form a sanctuary with the aspiration to attack the United States again. That was the number one lesson, and multiple presidents have held to that. And that is why we kept presence in Iraq and Syria, and why we keep presence in the eastern part of Africa, because they all have aspirations to attack the United States. October the 7th, the seminal lesson learned from October the 7th is you cannot permit proxies on Israel's border to have any capability to attack Israel ever again. That is the basic premise of the October the 7th. So what is happening in Lebanon is a complete violation of the major lesson learned. We cannot go to a ceasefire in Lebanon as part of the Iranian deal. We have to permit Israel to deal with Hezbollah inside of Lebanon and finish them as something separate. Otherwise, the security of Israel is at risk here. This is one of the reasons why we went into confrontation with Iran over this, because they were supporting the proxies and building ballistic missiles at a rate that was unacceptable and was putting Israel and U.S. bases and allies and partners at risk in the region. We have huge challenge here, to be sure, Mark, and we're going to have to roll up our sleeves. And this is the beginning of another 60-day period. We just finished one. And hopefully, as we go forward, the tenets of this, remember what President Trump is looking for here. He's not looking for an arbitration between a labor union and a business firm and let's all compromise and figure out what the common objectives here. He's looking for major concessions, period. And the reason for the major concessions is we're not going to attack you. If you don't make the major concessions, we are going to attack you. That's the deal. That is the major foundation of the deal. And it's likely, Mark, to get there, we may have to go back into kinetic operations just to leverage them like we did for the last 48 hours. And we may find ourselves, as we get into the details of this deal, that it's unacceptable, that they're not going to make the major concessions, and we'll find ourselves going back into what you and I believe is the preferred option, which is to finish them militarily.
Very, very well said. When we come back, General, I want to pursue this issue with Lebanon more.
Yeah, you know,
because we actually had people saying that maybe Israel and we aren't aligned. Well, we may not be aligned in terms of Iran, or I'm sure Israel, we would agree, wants to take out their regime once and for all militarily. I mean, after all, they're right in the neighborhood. But on Lebanon, we are 100% aligned unless we embrace a different position, which in effect, oddly, strangely, would have us serving as a protectorate for Hezbollah in Lebanon. I want to pursue that with you in a moment. We'll be right back.
All right. So for people who are saying that General Keane is only a general and he only understands war as a solution, guys, I'm not a military person. I've never served a day in the life of the military. I'm a politician. You know, my area of expertise has been like, you know, diplomatic solutions and stuff. I am telling you, as an Iranian, the only solution with the Islamic regime is war. It's to exterminate them. It's to boom boom them. Did you not listen to what Mark Levin was saying? These people, their entire ideology revolves around death to America. America is the great Satan. It literally revolves around exporting their Islamic jihad. So as a non-military person, I am telling you, you cannot make a deal with these people, because if you make a deal with them, they will lie about it. Like, they might sign it on paper, but then they'll turn around and they'll stab you in the back and they'll go, I don't know about it, and like send bombs your way. Okay, send bombs your way. So in this particular situation, General Keane is 100% correct. The only way to deal with the Islamic regime is to destroy them, eradicate them off the face of the earth. Guys, the Islamic regime is a cancer. Imagine someone has stage 4 cancer. How do you cure the cancer? You don't cure the cancer by negotiating with it. You don't cure the cancer by, appeasing it. You don't cure the cancer by giving it what it wants. You cure the cancer by, surgery. You go in, you cut out the tumors, and then you do chemotherapy or, laser surgery or whatever, and you destroy every last cancer cell. Why? Because if you leave even one cancer cell alive, that cancer is going to come back stronger and more aggressive than ever before. The Islamic regime is a cancer. And you have to think of occupied Iran as a country that currently has stage 4 cancer. The only way to cure the problem is to eradicate the Islamic regime, eradicate the cancer. You cannot leave one single cell alive. That's it. That's the only way. And I'll tell you why. Because for 47 years, Iranians have been rising up trying to overthrow the Islamic regime. And every single time Iranians have risen up, they have been brutally slaughtered. I know that many of you are only hearing about the protests in January of 2026, but there was an uprising in 2022. There was an uprising in 2019. There was an uprising in 2009. There was an uprising in 2012. There have been uprisings every few years. You just don't hear about it because it hasn't made it to the mainstream media. So yes, for 47 years, Iranians have tried to overthrow the Islamic regime. And every time they have tried, they have been brutally slaughtered and executed by the Islamic regime. That is why after 47 years, we have come to this conclusion today. The only way to get rid of the Islamic regime is to destroy them. You cannot negotiate with them. You cannot reason with them. These are literally 7th century inbred Islamic savages whose only ideology is death to America, and they murder Iranians because they view us as kafir. They view us as infidels. So, if anything, for them, when they murder Iranians, that helps them get into their, weird pedophile heaven with their 72 virgins or whatever, right? Anyways, let's go back to Fox News. I have more to say.
Pakistan, which has been mediating talks, expects terms to be completed within the next 24 hours. The signing is likely to be virtual due to logistical challenges. If signed, the agreement would launch a 60-day negotiation period on Iran's nuclear program. Trump also says the Strait of Hormuz would reopen immediately and claims Tehran no longer wants to pursue a nuclear weapon. He also says the U.S. would eventually retrieve and destroy Iran's nuclear waste. In return, Tehran will reportedly receive phased sanction relief. The U.S. and Iran are offering different accounts of the deal. I'm Jenny Painter. Now back to Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Welcome back, America. General, I think the reason you're focusing a lot on Lebanon and Hezbollah, and I want to do that even further,
this is important, by the way,
is because this seems to be a potential Achilles heel. Last week when Israel was defending itself against Hezbollah and moved in to Lebanon, to take out, well, let's say cut off the head of the snake, because the Lebanese government and the Lebanese army either unwilling or not capable of it, just like in 1983 and 1985, we seem to get a little hesitant. We seem to get a little concerned. The Arab countries were lobbying us to pull Israel back. It might undermine the deal and so forth. And what you are saying, or what I think you're saying, is, excuse me, this is part of the problem. This is what needs to be dealt with, and we cannot give them some kind of immunity or protection. I don't want to misstate what you're saying. Is that your point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look back on October the 7th and what has led to the war we're dealing with now, there's a direct alignment with that. I mean, it was the power of these proxies that they were so developed, and by what Qasem Soleimani started and what others have finished since his death, in growing their capability. And Sinwar in Gaza, representing Hamas, and Hezbollah, obviously in Lebanon, they believed in concert with other proxies that they could overwhelm Israel and really put Israel on a path to its destruction, not physically, and certainly not defeat its military, but create such a volatile security situation that the people, the small tribal people of 7 million, do not want to raise their families there anymore because of the dynamic security situation. That's what they were trying to create. That's what the slaughter of those 1,200, and why it was so brutal. It was intended to be brutal. It was intended to be shocking. The raping, the killing of babies in front of parents. What a assault on humanity and civilization that was. And that it was planned to be that way. Hezbollah is the most formidable organization that Iran supports outside of its ballistic missile and nuclear program itself. And they were under arms, close to 150,000 rockets and missiles, 50 to 60,000 under arms, the major fighting force to sustain the Assad regime on the ground for years was Hezbollah, not particularly well known, obviously supported by Russian air power as well, when Syrian air power turned to be incompetent and not be able to sustain itself through those years. But right. That was Iran's proxy there. Hezbollah truly matters to the regime. This is their number one proxy, and they see it as the ability to eventually bring Israel down. It is center to their objective in achieving that end. And why? Because they're right there on the border, and they want to sustain this, and we cannot let this happen. It should not be a part of the ceasefire that we're making with Iran and the deal that we're going to make with them. It's got to be separate. Israel has got to have the green light to finish them. We know full well what's going to happen in Gaza. Hamas is not going to disarm. We can see it. It's been there for months now. And when things settle down, Israel is going to have to go in there and remove them, just as they were on the precipice of doing with General Zamir. And the same thing must be done dealing with Lebanon. It's actually more dangerous to them because of the scale and capability that Hezbollah does have in its organization. That cannot be permitted to exist. It is an existential threat to Israel, and we have to see it as such. And people really have to understand the context in which Israel is dealing with here. I'm convinced the United States leadership, the president is the closest leader that Prime Minister Netanyahu has had in his tenure. And I think he's going to be behind him 100% when, at the end of the day, when it's shown here, he is going to stand by Israel here. And certainly Netanyahu is going to stand by the president of the United States as well.
And Israel is going to have to do whatever Israel has to do. Let me ask you this. We only have a minute left. What about what Hezbollah has done to Americans, slaughtering Americans? Do you want to remind America what Hezbollah has done with us?
They started in 1983. They blew up the U.S. embassy in Lebanon. When we moved to the annex, they blew that up. They blew up the Marine barracks. And also in 1983, they blew up the U.S. embassy in Kuwait. This is all during the Reagan administration. There was no consequential action taken against any of that. The reason is that's the first time suicide bombing was used. And it was kind of like a deer in the headlights. And it was a nation state sponsoring terrorists in another nation to do harm to their adversary. That had not happened before. Eventually, the Reagan administration figured it out and took Iran on a few years later over the Persian Gulf interference. But then it was Khobar Towers in the 90s during the Clinton administration, blew it up, killed 20 or so, 400 wounded, U.S. servicemen. And then the campaign in Iraq focused exclusively with scientifically engineered IEDs to penetrate any known vehicle on the battlefield. The official count is 600. General Lloyd Austin was their last commander. I asked him, I said, Lloyd, what do you think is the real count in terms of Americans they killed? He said, sir, it's closer to 2,000. They have been at this. And during the Biden administration alone, they attacked from Iraq and Syria proxies into Syria and into bases in Iraq that we were occupying over 300 times. 175 times prior to October the 7th, 125 after. This is who they are. They have focused on us. Why? Drive us out of the region. They don't want U.S. influence in the region. Second objective, destroy the state of Israel in a manner I described. This is diabolical, ideological regime. They are 100% committed to these end states.
The fact is, General, Israel's the only country with the only military that's fighting them. Yeah, so I think we ought to be thanking them and cheering them rather than any other step that we might take. We should be fully aligned on this. General, I want to thank you for your past service, your service now, which is so crucially important. And God bless you, my friend.
Great talking to you, Mark, as always, and your audience. Thank you.
You too, sir. We'll be right back.
Hey. So, while we're waiting for that, let me go to some more exclusive footage coming from occupied Iran. Mark Levin's show tonight is absolutely fast, but okay, so let's see this one. What are they saying here? Whoa, guys! Okay, so here they're chanting "Magbar Sazishgar." Sausage, oh my gosh, Sazishgar. It's like a tongue twister. Sazishgar, oh my gosh. So basically, they're saying death to the peacemaker, death to like the negotiators. So guys, the Islamic regime supporters, they've come out tonight. They're basically chanting for the death of Araghchi and Ghalibaf. Remember, so if we go to our, where's our boom boom bingo sheet? Here. Oh, I closed it. Wait, let's bring up our boom boom bingo sheet, right? The boom boom Durka jihadi bingo sheet. So the Islamic regime supporters are chanting death to the negotiators, like the ones who want to make peace with the great Satan. Of course, the great Satan is the United States, right? So they're referring to Ghalibaf and Araghchi. Guys, President Trump knew exactly what he was doing, because when President Trump posted this image of Araghchi on his Truth Social, he knew that this was going to absolutely enrage the supporters of the Islamic regime, because the Islamic regime and their supporters, they hate America. They're all about death to America. Right? So now they view Araghchi as a traitor. And they are now out in the streets. They are out in the streets calling for his death. Listen to this. Guys, we have in the 47 years that the Islamic regime has existed, we have never seen footage like this. We've never seen Islamic regime supporters go out and call for the death of one another. All of them were united behind Khamenei, the supreme dictator. But here's the thing. When it comes to a totalitarian system, they're very fragile, because totalitarian systems exist based on the strength of the leader. And yes, Khamenei, this guy, he was very strong. He was very strong. He was the supreme leader of the Islamic regime for 37 years. The founder of the Islamic regime, the guy that you saw in Mark Levin's, show that he had tonight, that's Khomeini. That's the one before this one. But they're all pedophiles. But Khomeini only lasted for 10 years. Khamenei, this one. By the way, don't ask me why their last names all sound the same. I have no idea. Maybe it's like a weird Islamic demon hell thing. I don't know. Khomeini, Khamenei, Khabar Marge Hamashon. I have no idea why their names all sound the same. It's all garbage names anyway, right? Like, it's all garbage. They're all garbage. But this guy was around for 37 years. He was the glue that kept it all together, and now everyone's freaking out. All right, let's go back to Mark Levin.
Florida. He's on the Senate Armed Services Committee, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So you're right in the middle of the activity there, Senator.
Well, we just passed the National Defense Authorization Act this week, and we're going to dramatically increase spending to defend this country. Now, it's not finished yet. The whole Senate has to do it, but we've got to have the resources to defend this country. We have a lot of enemies right now.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And over the years, especially under Biden and so forth, the budget has really been taking hits. Let me ask you this about Iran and so forth. When we had the Obama-Iran deal, I took a strong position that that's a treaty, and that required Senate approval. That's a supermajority, 2/3 of the members of the Senate. Apparently, Congress didn't see it that way, and they decided that by statute or by resolution, they would review the Obama deal, and the vote would be reversed. That is, unless Congress had the ability to override a veto, that the president could institute his deal. Will this deal, as far as you know, whatever the deal is, if there's a deal, the thing is still in flux, would it be reviewed by your committees and by Congress generally?
Absolutely. Look, whatever happens here, and we all are hopeful for a deal. I mean, am I optimistic that even if we have a deal that they're going to comply with it? No, but if it does, it's got to come and get approved through Congress.
All right, so it would go through the process, be approved, or the way it works, as I remember last time, and it troubled me, but that's just the precedent now. There'd be some kind of a resolution, and if there wasn't a veto-proof resolution, then it would probably go through and so forth. What should we be looking for here? I mean, I think in part, it's going to have some kind of strong enforcement mechanism. Now, we're only talking about, first of all, we don't know, but we're only talking about an MOU, and then there's a negotiation period, and then there's a final deal, and so forth and so on. If such a thing occurs all the way to the end, what should we be looking for?
Well, I think number one, the terms of the deal have to be that they can't have a nuclear weapon, they can't have ballistic missiles, and they're going to stop giving money to proxies, Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. That's number one.
Which they'll never do.
It doesn't mean a hill of beans if we can't verify it. So as Reagan said, you got to trust but verify. So whatever, we're all hopeful for a deal, but whatever it is, it's got to be something that there's teeth in it, so you can go make sure it happens. And if they don't, what are the ramifications? So I'm hopeful, but come on, it's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I mean, are they going to comply with something?
It's not the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, you idiot. It's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. God, what is wrong with these people?
Celebrate 250 years of freedom. Start streaming all of Fox Station's unmissable content for its lowest.
Stop calling it the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Do your homework. It's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Like, guys, stop being stupid. It's so frustrating. The official name is literally the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Why do you call it Iranian? It just makes you look stupid. Like, when people call it the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, it just makes you look stupid. I'm just saying, it makes you look like you are an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. So, anyways, on a random happier note, apparently it was someone's birthday yesterday. It was Brandon's 40th birthday yesterday, and he ordered $130 of Dickie's barbecue pit for his 40th birthday. Brisket, chicken, sausage, and sides. Delicious. Well, Brandon, I don't usually monitor the chat because I'm looking at other things, but I saw this message. And in honor of your 40th birthday, here is the Iranian happy birthday song. And I found a version that actually has the English translation and the lyrics below it. So now all of you can follow along as we sing happy birthday to Brandon. You're very welcome. There you go. That's not like the best audio quality, but that's the only one that I could find that actually had like English translations, so that when all of you non-Iranians are listening, you know what's actually being said, right? Because for all you know, it could be like right? So I just wanted to make sure I found a version with like the English like translation and the lyrics, so you know that it's not a Durka song. It's basically just saying, happy birthday, may you live 100 years, be happy, cheering. Anyways, happy 40th birthday, Brandon, and happy birthday to everyone who's had a birthday in the last few days or birthday coming up, or happy birthday to all of you. Anytime it's your birthday, happy birthday to you all. There you go. All right. Oh, yeah. President Trump turns 80 tomorrow. Wow. You know what? I should play this song tomorrow during Iran Revolution Live for President Trump. There you go. For his happy 80th birthday. However, let's go back to the Durkas, the exclusive footage, right? You've already seen this thing. Oh my God! Oh my God! Guys, this is today. They're chanting Magbad Araghchi Bisharaf Nofuzi. Okay, well, I'll translate in a moment.
Here with Senator Rick Scott. So, Senator Scott, we have to assume, even beyond an MOU, if we get there,
I don't know,
to a final agreement 60 days later there.
To be fair, Rick Scott knows nothing about Iran, so I don't know how useful this is going to be.
And we have found in the past that the regime blocked the IAEA, that is the UN. But whatever
Rick
happens,
Scott's his heart is in the right place.
No longer president,
his
somebody
heart
else
is in
comes
the right
in and
place,
so forth and so on.
He
Do
doesn't
you feel confident? Forget about them violating whatever may or may not be agreed to. Do you feel confident that on our side, depending who's president, that we have the will to enforce such an agreement?
Well, look at history. Obama's an appeaser. Biden's an appeaser. And it's not just in Iran. Look at, Obama went down and played baseball with Raul Castro. So if we get a Democrat president, then all the hard work of the Trump administration, all the hard work of our military will be for naught, because they will appease. That's what they do. They don't care about our, they're not out there to defend our country or defend our people. So now we've got to keep electing Republicans, and thank God for President Trump, what he's done in Iran. But I mean, when people say I don't like the Iran war, none of us like war. But who wants to die by a nuclear weapon? I mean, we all have families. We got to protect all of our families, and that's what Trump's doing. He's doing the right stuff.
The propaganda is way over the top, isn't it? From your colleagues, from the media, from members of the House, from these phony experts that come in and on the left. What do you think that's doing to negotiations? What do you think the enemy sees when they hear this?
Well, it hurts it. It's so, I just listened to Ulysses Grant autobiography, and the same stuff was happening during the Civil War. The Northern press and some of the politicians were always trashing the Union. And that's what's happening now. It's like, we're in this together. None of us want them to have a nuclear weapon. They've been killing Americans for 47 years. We want to support our ally Israel. So I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. What Trump's doing is good for you and good for this country.
And what's the alternative, as you said, for them to have nuclear weapons and do as they wish? I mean, let me put it to you this way. If we had listened to the Democrats, where would we be today, Senator?
Well, they'd have a nuclear weapon. We would not be first, probably Israel would be wiped off the face of the earth. The Houthis, the Hamas, Hezbollah would be completely reconstituted. And then we'd be having to worry about a nuclear bomb going off, close to any of our major cities, close to our sporting events. I mean, this country would not be safe. They want to kill us. When people say this, I said, they want to kill us. Listen to them. Take it seriously.
Senator, thanks for joining us. Be safe out there, sir.
Take care, Mark.
You too. We'll be right back.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Let's go back to the exclusive footage from inside occupied Iran. Guys, look at this. So, okay, I know I said this in Persian. Let me listen to it once again, and I'm going to translate what they're saying. Oh my God. So they're saying, Magbad Araghchi Bisharaf Nofuzi, which means death to Araghchi, the dishonorable spy, infiltrator, right? So, guys, this is a direct result of President Trump posting this screenshot of Araghchi on his Truth Social, right? Guys, President Trump knows exactly what he's doing. When he just posts this screenshot of Araghchi, the guy who's responsible for the negotiations, he knows what's going to happen, because all of the Islamic regime supporters now see this as President Trump directly endorsing Araghchi, okay? They see this as President Trump and Araghchi being on the same side. Remember, this is an Islamic regime that has chanted death to America, great Satan, right? Like for the last 47 years. So now that they see this, guys, because of this post from President Trump, the Islamic regime supporters are now literally in the streets and they're chanting death to Araghchi, the dishonorable infiltrator. Let's listen to this again. Oh my gosh. This is what I mean when I say they're having a meltdown. Guys, they are frothing at the mouth. Like it's almost like they all have rabies and they're literally like attacking one another. Guys, Araghchi's not going to last very long. And guys, this demonstration is happening, this protest is happening in front of the, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Guys, it's literally like game of Durka, right? It's like Durka on Durka, right? It's like terrorists versus terrorists, right? Like Game of Thrones, but it's like game of Durka. And they're all going after one another. right? And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. It's such a beautiful thing to see. Literally, one post from President Trump about Araghchi is causing an entire meltdown within the Islamic regime. What's with the white robes? I have no idea. So the women, okay, like the women are still wearing hijab, like they're all covered. I actually have no idea what this white thing is on top. Like I'll look around and I'll find out. If there's any Iranians watching, I get مثلا یکی از همیهنانمون دارن نگاه میکنن این لباس سفیده چیه که پوشیدن? Like what is this لباس سفید? Because usually, like, I don't know, this is supposed to be like, I don't know, like they wear this when they go to like Mecca, like for their Hajj pilgrimage or something. But I'm sure like they're wearing this because I don't know, it's some group or organization or something. But I'll see if I can find out what it means, because this is actually new. Kafan, نه این واقعا کفنه. So I don't think this is a kafan though. That's not a kafan. That's not a kafan. I think it's something else. یه معنی دیگه داره ولی yeah. So a lot of Iranians, they're putting like the like a this comment شاید کفن یعنی آماده مرگن. Yeah, I mean that could be. So okay. So I was kind of right when I thought that maybe this has to do with like Mecca. So interestingly, all the Iranians who are watching this live stream right now are kind of confused, because guys, we've never seen this. Like I've never seen like Islamic regime supporters wear this kind of outfit. Like this is literally the first time that I'm seeing these people out in the streets wearing these white shrouds. In Islam, oh wait, let's go back to Mark Levin and I'll continue.
In the past, we saw Democrats who were sold a bill of goods. They bought into the old nuclear deal, the JCPOA, and bolstered Tehran's nuclear ambition. And Democrats said just this week that a deal could never be reached, that striking Iran was a grave misstep, that this was all one big mistake.
Donald Trump has plunged America into a reckless and costly war of choice in the Middle East.
He's incapable of ending the war, incapable of cleaning up his own mess. Republicans need to stop buying the BS, show some spine, and help us bring our service members home.
The danger now more than ever is that this war will spiral out of control. What we're seeing in real time is the kind of miscalculation that caused World War I.
And yet, here we are.
And most importantly, we have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see.
This White House knows that there's still mistrust on both sides of this agreement, but Iran will only see economic relief if they hold up their end of the bargain, not before. So as we carefully walk down the path ahead, Americans can have faith that our leaders and this president plan to leave the free world safer than they found it. Here now to discuss is foreign policy analyst E.J. Kimball. E.J., welcome to the show. It seems like a deal may nearly be done, but if so, this does open up a potential 60 days of technical talks between the U.S. and Iran. So what assurances would you be looking for upon signing, and what will still need to be ironed out?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's great to be with you. Look, one of the biggest challenges we have with making a deal with this regime is that they can't be trusted. They lie, they cheat, they try to change terms of deals even after they've been agreed to. Yep. We've seen this time and time again. So what I'm looking for when this deal, if this deal comes to fruition and comes out, is what are the requirements on the regime before the concessions are made from the United States. I think it's very important, and President Trump understands this with this regime, is that you can't give them an inch or they'll take a mile. And we've already seen that during the ceasefire. So I think it's very important that the conditions on Iran be met before the regime receives any concessions in return.
Yeah, and this president has remained very strong that his #1 priority is that Iran cannot have or possess the ability to build a nuclear weapon. And you just talked about this, given their historical lack of reliability. What would make this deal a sure thing? How might the conditions be different from the JCPOA?
Well, I think it's important to understand that this is not just a government that is in charge of Iran, but this is a jihadist revolutionary movement that essentially occupies this country of Iran, just like its proxies occupy Lebanon, occupy Iraq at the moment. So I think it's just very important that when we look at this nuclear program, we can't trust what they're going to say.
I call it
we need to actually be putting in place very strict monitoring and verification methods to ensure that that the nuclear program is dismantled, because we've heard in the previous JCPOA, the biggest problem fundamentally was that it had timelines. It had sunset clauses. So at this point, even if it had followed through to its conclusion, Iran would be on the verge of having a nuclear weapon, and there would be nothing that the United States could do. So to me, the biggest number right now is 952. That is the number of days left for President Trump's administration. And the Iranians know that, and they are looking at that number because they believe once he is out of office, they'll be able to continue this. So it is vitally important that this is not something that just lasts through this administration, but it is something that ends before this administration is over, so that a future president is not in a position where the Iranians can try to take advantage.
Yeah, this president obviously was the one to finally deal with it. And as an American, I am incredibly grateful that he is, because you're right. We never want to allow them any ability in the future to go down this path again. Now, another factor in this deal is the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Americans have been feeling the pressure when it comes to oil and gas costs. But earlier this week, the president revealed that more than 100 million barrels of oil are making their way through the strait and into the open market. So relief hopefully should be coming. Is Hormuz still a major bargaining chip for Iran, or does this indicate that the U.S. is finally gaining some footing when it comes to the waterway?
Well, I think that it is still a factor here, but it has certainly become less of a factor with the revelation from President Trump. Look, I've noticed gas prices have been going down, and I figured maybe there was some oil moving through the strait, but I didn't realize how much. And I think for the Iranians right now, they realize that they played their biggest card with the strait. And the reality is, the United States has the most lethal military in the world. It will kill, crush, destroy the enemy upon orders from the commander in chief. So the Iranians realize now that either the strait gets reopened by the U.S. military, or they try to have some type of a deal that they'll at least sell to their own people that they still have control of the strait. But most importantly is that this administration, and President Trump gets this, they will not allow the Iranian regime to hold the world global energy supply hostage. And that's why we've been diversifying, and we've been increasing our production here in the United States and some of our allies as well. The Iranians have played this card. It is not the factor that they thought it was going to be, precisely because the economic blockade that the U.S. countered with has completely shut down their economic lifeline. So I think what we're going to see here is that strait will open either through this deal or through the U.S. military.
Yeah, EJ, my dad texted me the other day that he even noticed the drop in gas prices. So hopefully we're heading in the right direction on that front. Iran now says that the ceasefire deal includes Lebanon as well, which would put an end to the IDF's operations against Hezbollah. So how do our leaders reconcile this tension while keeping that shared goal as the #1 priority?
Well, this has been a big challenge here because Lebanon, again, it's a failed state because Hezbollah, an Iranian proxy jihadist entity, has taken over control of that country. And while the U.S. has brought the Lebanese government, the Israeli government together to work on a peace plan, the reality is Lebanon and Israel don't have any issue. It's the fact that there's a terrorist organization operating there.
It's
and
Hezbollah. It's southern
for both
Lebanon.
Lebanon and Israel to rid that country of Hezbollah. Look, if this deal provides some sort of ceasefire again in Lebanon, Israel, of course, will always have the ability to carry out responses when they are attacked. Like any country, they have the right to defend themselves and their citizens. But more importantly here, the Lebanese government needs to be able to dismantle Hezbollah, and that's going to take support from both the United States and Israel. You know, the question on the Iranian side is, can you get Hezbollah to actually lay down their arms and stop firing on Israel? I'm not optimistic on it, but I believe if that's the cost temporarily to get this deal moving forward, I think the president's willing to push it with the understanding that Israel will respond the moment Hezbollah challenges the ceasefire.
All right. Well, before we let you go, I just want to get your overall assessment of this president and his administration's strategy on Iran from the very launch of Operation Epic Fury until now.
Well, look, President Trump is a transformational president. I mean, just think back 10 years ago at what the Republican Party was. He has completely transformed what the Republican Party stands for. And if you look at the Middle East from his first term with the Abraham Accords, really the whole change in the approach to Middle East diplomacy, he has upended 40 years or longer of failed diplomatic exercises here. So now you've got Abraham Accords, you've got Israel with peace with Arab neighbors. He recognized the greatest destabilizing threat to the region is Iran. And right now, there's the opportunity for President Trump's legacy to completely transform the region into something that becomes a prosperous region, not just for the people there, but for the entire world.
It's amazing stuff to watch happen, and we're so grateful he's the president right now. EJ, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Still ahead, despite tensions in the Middle East, Democrats are doubling down on anti-Israel candidates.
Oh, man, of course. Yeah, that's the Democrats for you. Okay, so let's go back to the weird jihadis who are calling for the death of Araghchi. So guys, I confirmed with my Iran expert. Like I literally have like several personal experts on Iran who watch all of my live streams, and they always they're always in touch with me whenever I have questions. So I confirmed with several of my Iran experts. I literally call them the elders of Persepolis, right? Because they know their stuff. And I was told that my initial hunch about why they are wearing white shrouds was correct. In Islam, when you're buried, you're buried in a white shroud, right? So the reason that these Durka jihadis are wearing these white shrouds, it's called a kafan in Persian, is because it symbolizes them we're willing to die for Allah, we're willing to be martyred for Allah, Allah Akbar, right? So yeah, so while these jihadis are chanting for the death of Araghchi because they claim that he is now a Zionist infiltrator, dishonorable infiltrator, they're wearing white shrouds because that now symbolizes that they are willing to give up their lives for Allah on the path to jihad. Well, I just, I hope that for their sake that their wishes of martyrdom become reality, right? I hope that they accomplish their wishes. So they're literally wearing the white shrouds that they want to be buried in, right? They're literally calling for the deaths of one. Guys, can you imagine? Okay, and I say this as a former Canadian politician. I cannot fathom in what sort of reality would, let's say, Canadians go in front of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Canada and look. The Foreign Affairs Minister is utter garbage, right? Utter garbage. like pure trash, right? Pure trash. But that doesn't mean you go in front of the Foreign Affairs Ministry office and call for their death, right? Like, I can't fathom that. Like, there's a line, right? Like, if someone was going to go in front of like the Foreign Affairs Ministry office of Canada and chant for the death of the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister, I would be like, no, that is utter nonsense. You can't do that. Like, you can disagree with someone's political stance, but you don't call for their death, right? So yes, I think that the Foreign Affairs Minister of Canada is utter garbage. I think their policies are utter garbage. Does that mean I want their death? Absolutely not, because I'm a normal, rational human being. I criticize policy. I don't criticize the person. I don't attack the person. However, in occupied Iran, they're literally going in front of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, right? So that's Abbas Araghchi's office, and they're saying death to Araghchi, and they're wearing white shrouds because for these Durka jihadis, they're on the path of jihad. They're fighting for Allah, right? As President Trump says, "Praise be to Allah" or whatever. So yeah, look at that. Guys, by the way, like, these are all women. I'm telling you, the women are even more dangerous and more evil than the men. So if anyone wants to come and be like, oh, we should spare the women, do not spare the women. The women are the ones who raise the jihadi terrorists. The women are the ones who raise the men to become terrorists. Let me show you an example. Right? Like the women are like the demon spawns of hell. Right? Look at this. You know Qasem Soleimani? Qasem Soleimani, the evil terrorist war criminal that had the blood of hundreds of thousands of Iranians on his hand, the one that President Trump boomed back in January of 2020. Do you know what his mother looks like? That's his mother. This demon, this hell spawn, raised Qasem Soleimani. He literally suckled on the teats of a literal demon spawn from hell. Right? So no, do not spare the woman, because the women are the ones who raise the terrorists, right? All these jihadi Durka women who are going out there, they're like, ah, right? Don't be like, oh, the women are, they're fine. No, the women are even more evil than the men. Because it takes a certain kind of psychopath to literally reject your inherent, feminine instincts to preserve life, right? These women are calling for death. So yeah, there you go. These are the kinds of demons that literally, like, this is the hell spawn that raised Qasem Soleimani. Yeah. So there you go. The women are more evil than the men. Do not spare them. Okay, let's go to some more exclusive. Oh no, my browser has lost connection to my audio. All right, guys. Let me reshare my screen because I do have more exclusive footage that I want to share with you guys. All right, there we go. And we are back for more Durka videos. So that was the first one. And okay, what's this one? So he's saying, Mr. Araghchi, dirt on your head. So dirt on your head is basically like a polite but impolite way of saying, like, I hope you die. Because when they say dirt on your head, that's basically a reference to, you know, like a body that's being buried. And so, you know, when you're burying a corpse, you're throwing dirt on them, right? Like you're throwing dirt on them to bury them. So when he says dirt on your head, like Hakbar said it, basically means like, I hope you die, and so that they can like bury you, right? So he's saying, Araghchi, I hope you die. And he's saying, people are freaking out. People are having a stroke. And they're protesting in front of the Foreign Affairs Ministry because you are signing a deal with the great Satan. You are signing a deal with the evil that murdered our beloved And then he's basically like, he's like, curse your family, curse, you know, everyone you love, curse, you know, whatever. Curse your, he's like, curse your very essence. Guys, this is like insane. Not only is he saying, I hope you die, he's basically cursing everything. He's like, curse your very essence, like curse your soul. Which means dirt on your head. So dirt on your head is basically like, you know, I hope you die so that we can bury you, right? Put dirt on your head. That's what dirt on your head refers to. Oh my gosh, wow. That's wild. Okay, I have some more for you guys. Oh guys, more Durka videos going after Araghchi. Guys, the Foreign Affairs Minister is in a very awkward position right now. Look at this. Oh, they're saying Ghalibaf Araghchi az khune rahbaram chi. So they're saying, so Ghalibaf and Araghchi, those are the two people that are negotiating. And then they say, az khune rahbaram chi, which means, what about the blood of my leader? They're referring to Khamenei, right? So basically, they're saying, Ghalibaf Araghchi, what about the fact that the United States murdered Khamenei, right? They're calling them out as traitors. They're basically saying, how can you make a deal with the great Satan that exterminated our supreme dictator? That's what they're saying here. Ghalibaf Araghchi as khune rahbaram chi. Oh my gosh, this is so funny, guys. This meltdown is wild. 47 years, I've never seen anything like this. And this is the stuff that you will never find in the mainstream media because they don't know where to look for the sources. But that's why you guys tune into the Goldie Show, because I have the exclusive, breaking, never before seen footage ready for you. All right, let's watch this again. Now you know what they're saying. So they're basically calling out Ghalibaf and Araghchi as traitors to the Islamic regime because Ghalibaf and Araghchi are wanting to make a deal with President Trump. President Trump being the person who's responsible for the extermination of the supreme dictator. Beautiful to see, beautiful to see. Beautiful to see this. I love, you know what? I am thoroughly enjoying the fact that they are having a... Oh guys, look, more Durkas! It's the same thing. So it's the same chant from a different angle. They're like, Ghalibaf, Araghchi, what about the blood of our leader? Right? Like they're basically calling them out as traitors. Look at this. Guys, so this shows the internal meltdown and collapse, because usually when the Islamic regime Durkas come out, They're all about like, oh, you know, death to America, death to Israel, like Magdad, America, Magdad, Israel, whatever, Jihad, Allahu Akbar. But now, after what President Trump posted, they are literally going insane. They have turned into wild animals. They are frothing at the mouths. And instead of going out of the streets and chanting against the United States, instead of going out into the streets and chanting against Israel, right? The great Satan, the little Satan, instead of that, they're chanting against one another. This is what you don't see in the mainstream media. And unless you see these videos, it's difficult to understand why President Trump is doing what he's doing. But I told you guys way back, like a few months ago, I said the fact that President Trump is posting about how the Islamic regime is agreeing with them and the Islamic regime is going to sign a peace deal. A lot of you thought that this meant President Trump was folding. And I said to you guys, no, this is President Trump speeding up the internal collapse of the Islamic regime. This is President Trump taking advantage of the current infighting within the Islamic regime. This is President Trump literally just throwing fuel on the fire that is the collapse. Because now, guys, instead of the Islamic regime supporters, right, the 5% of the Iranian population, instead of them going out and chanting death to America, they're chanting death to Araghchi, death to Ghalibaf. They're now chanting death to their own people. This is what President Trump has been working towards. And now you're finally seeing the results. But remember, I called this 2 months ago. I said everything President Trump is doing is leading to this moment. And now you're finally seeing it. It's like a volcano that's erupting. But unfortunately, the mainstream media is not reporting on it. But that's okay. I got you guys covered. All right, so let's watch this angle of the Islamic regime supporters chanting death to their own people, including Araghchi. And as a quick reminder, Araghchi is the one that President Trump posted on his Truth Social today. And when President Trump did this, a lot of people thought, oh, this is President Trump capitulating to the Islamic regime. And I was like, no, this is President Trump basically putting Araghchi's head on a chopping block, right? And now that's exactly what's happening. Because now all the Islamic regime supporters are calling for the death of Araghchi. All right, let's go. There you go. So, like I said, I have been calling this for months. A lot of people didn't believe me at first. A lot of people did not see what I was seeing. But as a former politician and geopolitical analyst, I can spot the signs. I can see the patterns and I can see the trends. And when President Trump first called this 2 months ago, a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people were worried. And now we're seeing the end result. Okay, guys, I'm going to, my apologies. So we've been going on for quite a while. I'm going to go to the super chats for Q&A. And then we're going to call it a night. And I will have more exclusive footage for you tomorrow. So let me just go through all of your questions and comments. So, starting with, wait, let me just see here. Okay, so it's time for Q&A. So Tread says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Tread. Welcome. Justin Lafever says, Mr. President, I tip my hat to you. I'm sorry for doubting. Goldie, you were right as always. Told you guys. That's okay. I'm just gonna pop some popcorn and enjoy the show now. Thank you so much, Justin. And yeah, it is difficult to see the full picture sometimes. I mean, listen, even myself, like, it takes me a while to kind of get the full picture. Oh my gosh. Oh no, I need to go make some tea and honey. I've been speaking too much, but I'm gonna get through all the super chats. Sorry, guys. Anyways, Justin says, Goldie, you were right as always. I'm just gonna pop some popcorn and enjoy the show now. Thank you so much, Justin. Appreciate that. Kevin says, my bet is a surprise arrival of the elected government leaders of Iran and Geneva, Switzerland, to sign the MOU against the wishes of the IRGC militia. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, that could be it. But I mean, based on like the current standards of international law, I don't know. I don't see that happening, but it's a very interesting theory. And Kevin, I will be keeping an eye out for that for sure. And then Wiley Coyote, Trump will do what is best for America and the world. I agree. And listen, that's exactly what President Trump has to do. Like, it's, guys, President Trump is a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. His primary role is to do what is best for the American interest. Right now, we are in a scenario, in a situation where American interests, Israeli interests, and the interests of the Iranian people have all aligned because all of us share a common enemy. That's the Islamic regime. So eradicating the Islamic regime and overthrowing the Islamic regime is in the best interests of America, Israel, and the Iranian people. That's why we're aligned, right? But ultimately, President Trump, his first and foremost responsibility is to the American people, not to anyone else. And people have to remember that and realize that, right? Just as how Prime Minister Netanyahu, his first and foremost and primary responsibility is to the people of Israel. And His Royal Highness, King Reza Pahlavi, his first and foremost primary responsibility is to the Iranian people. But just because your interests are, just because your primary responsibility is to your own people, it doesn't mean that interests can't coincide. And in this particular situation right now, all the stars have aligned. That's why America, Israel, and the Iranian people are all on the same side. Because we're all united against this one common enemy, which is the Islamic regime. And also, before 1979, Israel, Iran, and America were also very close allies. But, that's for another time. But right now, we're all aligned. Like, the national interests of all three populations are all the same right now. And then Wiley continues, stopping a nuclear arms race in the Middle East is paramount. Yeah, absolutely. Goldie, maybe Israel will tip over the IRGC. Your thoughts? I mean, who knows? It could. Because, ultimately this peace treaty is between America and the Islamic regime. However, Israel has said, subject to agreement. But again, I don't know. Yeah, I could totally see Israel tipping the IRGC over, but I have a feeling that the United States and Israel are working hand in hand behind the scenes. They always have been. President Trump knows that America's biggest and most important ally is Israel. Israel is at this point, Israel is basically fighting the war against Islamic Jihad in the Middle East. It's literally the only democratic country in the Middle East. And then EHF says, oil trade opening up in Iran presents an opportunity to arm people through fake oil trade shipments. I mean, sure, but I don't see oil trade opening up. I don't see it opening up. There are other ways to arm the Iran people, but I mean, that could be a potential way. I just don't see it happening. And then Tread says, appreciate the interpretation. Thank you. Thank you, Tread. Amir gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Amir. Very kind of you. And then Punisher of the North says, Tusi is number 1. Listen, I agree. Tusi is number 1. Everyone needs to go follow Tusi, subscribe to Tusi, turn on your notifications for Tusi TV. Tusi is number 1. I agree. By the way, it was his birthday a couple days ago. So go to his lives, in his comments or wherever. Wish him a happy birthday. And yes, I 100% agree with you, Punisher. Tusi is number 1. He does amazing work. He's literally working round the clock, 24/7. Even when he goes on vacation, he's still live streaming when it comes to Iran. And he is your best source for breaking news when it comes to occupied Iran. Because, like, I'm not a journalist, right? I'm more of a geopolitical analyst, political commentator type of thing. So I will take the news and I'll analyze it and I'll, give you background context and history and things like that. But Tusi is amazing because Tusi will literally give you the breaking news. And then he also provides his own analysis, which is always, his analysis is pretty much always on the spot as well. So great guy. Everyone go follow Tusi. Tread gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Tread. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, this wasn't a super chat, but I appreciated this. So this is when we were watching Mark Levin, and everything Mark Levin was saying is basically what I have been saying for the last 2 months. And Rob says, Goldie said it first for a while. Yes, guys, that's why you tune into my channel. That's why you're here on the Goldie Show and you watch my videos about Iran and everything else, because yeah, it's true. It's true. Guys, I might be early, but I'm rarely wrong. And now we're seeing evidence of that. So I'm pretty happy about that. Tom for Life says, I can't wait for the signing. I hope they show it live at the UFC fight on the White House lawn tomorrow. It's the boss's birthday. Wouldn't that be hilarious? I mean, apparently it's going to be a digital signing. I don't even know the details. Like, what time is this thing supposed to be signed? I should probably look into that. We should do like a live watch party and actually see what happens, right? Like, is this thing going to be signed or not? Pakistan and Araghchi are claiming that it's going to be like a digital electronic signature, whatever that means. Like, what, do they have like an auto pen for Mojtaba? Who knows? But you know what? That's a good idea, Tom. I should look into that. And I should see like, maybe we should do like a live watch party or something. But as long as it does not coincide with my sister's live stream, because my sister is live streaming at 7:45 p.m. Eastern tomorrow about the nuclear bomb, and I definitely want to watch that. Like, I want to understand all like this nuclear stuff, right? Like all the nuclear boom boom stuff that people are talking about, that I talk about. I don't really know the science behind it, so I'm looking forward to learning more about the science behind that. So let's see what happens. Push-ups. Mark is the nicest guy you will ever meet. I agree. We actually, like, Iranians call Mark like Amu Levin, which means Uncle Levin. If you get the chance, go meet him and tell him to play his videos and want to name a street after. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to name a street after him in like Iran when Iran is free. Absolutely. I will definitely push for that. He's been an amazing voice for the Iranian people. Wily Coyote. Trump wants Iran to be free, but the money in the region have sway over him. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, there's Qatar and others, but, you know, I think the way President Trump is handling this situation is actually genius, because he's saying to all these people, all these countries who want a peace deal, they're like, all right, here's the peace deal. the Islamic regime has to sign it. And so President Trump has pretty much put the ball in their court. So this way, when the Islamic regime doesn't sign, or if they sign but they don't adhere to the terms of the contract, President Trump can say, oh, well, we tried, and then, he booms them. Captain Willie Grimm says, Patriot Americans are with the citizens of Iran. We are many. Thank you. Thank you. God bless America. And, the Iranian people, we are with the patriotic citizens of America. Iran and the United States were actually very close allies prior to 1979. If you've ever watched one of my documentary watch parties or, tuned in for that, I always like to share videos of the relationship between Iran and United States prior to 1979. And we were very, very close friends. And this is why even today, like Iranians, we have no issue with the United States. We actually love America. In fact, the biggest population of Iranians outside of Iran are in the United States because many Iranians escaped the Islamic regime. They escaped the Islamic occupiers and went to the United States. We Iranians, we love the United States, and we cannot wait until Iran is free and we can welcome you guys back to our country. We love Americans. We love Israelis. Guys, we love all people. The only people we don't like are terrorists. Like, if you're like a jihadi, Allahu Akbar, Durka terrorist, like, we don't like you, we don't want you. But everyone else, like normal human beings, more than welcome, especially Americans. And listen, guys, I'm going to tell you something. When Iran is free, and I'm not even joking, and this is like the American privilege and the Israeli privilege. It is what it is. But when Iran is free and things have stabilized, and once our country is open again for international travel, I'm telling you guys right now, like, if you're American or Israeli or Jewish, all you have to do is literally show up to Iran and just be like, I'm American, or I'm Israeli, or I'm Jewish, and immediately you're going to be surrounded by people who are going to like want to, I don't know, take you to their home and feed you and take you for a tour and all that stuff. So yeah, it'll kind of be like a hostage taking, but like a different kind of hostage taking, right? It's like people will be like, no, I insist, you must come to my house so I can feed you kebab and rice. That's what it's going to be like. So just be prepared to gain a lot of pounds when you visit Iran, because like you're going to be like overfed with food. So I'm just saying, it is what it is. It is what it is. Tread gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Tread. Really appreciate that. And Tread says they live in the 7th century. Shaking my head. Yeah, the Islamic regime literally lives in the 7th century, and that's where they belong. Wiley Coyote, Goldie, hear me. Trump needs a win before the elections this fall. He may come back with a vengeance after. Yeah, I mean, that could be it, but I feel like if this situation remains unresolved, that wouldn't be a win. Like, Trump doesn't need a win. He needs a conclusion. That's what he's looking for here. That's my analysis anyway. I mean, I could be wrong, but who knows? Steve Rowe, I love the lion on the flag better. Yeah, I mean the lion and sun flag, super cool. We love it too. It's a pretty cool flag. Push-ups, death to sausage. What did sausage do to them? You're right. Like, why does the Islamic regime hate sausages? Like, why are they chanting Magbar sausage gar? I agree. It's sausage gar, but I love the wordplay. Like, guys, sausages matter. Yeah, why does the Islamic regime hate sausages? You're right. And then Tread says the mods are A+. How they keep up is wild. It's true. We have some amazing mods here. And then this was a comment. It wasn't a super chat, but I thought this was really funny, and I wanted to translate this with you. So one of our Iranian viewers says, Rahbar Qayeb Muqawwai, with like the laughing face, which literally means the hidden cardboard leader. So a lot of our Iranian viewers are laughing because we still haven't seen any proof of life of the current supreme dictator, Mojtaba Khamenei. So they're calling him the hidden cardboard leader, and I agree, it's hilarious. Tread says, my Wi-Fi went out. I'm blessed to have it back up. Only 15 minutes left. Oh no! I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully you're able to figure it all out. And then sent some more memberships. Thank you. And Tread says, I'm not able to lay down while watching too much action. Oh no! I'm sorry, tonight has been a lot of action. James says, Goldie, you are such a badass heroine. We love you so much. Oh, thank you. May Hashem bless you and all the Persian people. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your blessings. And Am Yisrael Chai. Christian Evan Christensen says, have you seen the movie Gov 1969 Durud Chetori? I think I might have seen it, but I'll have to go back and double check. I might have seen it a long time ago. I will look it up for sure. There's a lot of like pre-1979 Iranian movies that I've watched. That one sounds really familiar. I feel like I've seen it, but like a long time ago, but I'll have to double check. I'll look into that for sure. Norway T. Could you speak about the open Iran trade routes across the Caspian oil to Russia, Iran, Turkey, and communist China, Pakistan, Iran? Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely do like another live stream topic on that. It's not something that I can like speak about in like 2 or 3 minutes. If you want like more in-depth detail, I'd have to do like a full live stream on it. But I mean, if I was going to summarize it in 30 seconds, I would basically say, I mean, Russia is an ally of the Islamic regime, so, they have a trade route. And China and Pakistan are allies of the Islamic regime. So China funnels, smuggles weapons and equipment to the Islamic regime through Pakistan. And of course, Turkey is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. So, I mean, Turkey possibly might also be smuggling things to the Islamic regime. That's pretty much it in a 30-second summary. But if you want more details, I'm definitely more than happy to kind of like get more info and do like a dedicated video or live stream on the topic. But I would say just pretty much assume that, any routes between, Russia and China to the Islamic regime, it's happening because they're allies, right? And Russia and China have a vested economic interest in keeping the Islamic regime around. And then Ace, for the final super chat, says, United, we stand for the win. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. Goldie is always right. Hashtag. Thank you so much. Payande Iran. Oh, I love that. And then I see the America flag and the Israeli flag. Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for tuning in to tonight's live stream edition of The Goldie Show. We went a little bit longer, but it was very interesting because everything that Mark Levin and then, what we were seeing later with Laura Trump, guys, I've been saying this for months. The mainstream news is literally like 2 months behind me. So at the same time, though, I'm happy that I thought, it's kind of like validation, right? It's like, guys, this is why you tune in. So anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for Iran Revolution Live. And do not forget, I'm just going to make a quick plug before we end everything. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow night, it's not a mandatory field trip. It's an optional field trip. So if you want to learn more about the boom booms, right? If you want to understand how the boom booms work, there you go. So my sister on the Ghamari Report, she's doing a documentary watch party on boom booms, and she's going to explain it to us because, President Trump talks about, diluting the uranium, and then people talk about like enriched uranium and then nuclear grade uranium and like all this stuff. And I, you know, like I'll talk about it, but I actually don't even know like what that means or how it's created or how it even works. So we're going to find out tomorrow. Now, again, I want to be very clear. This is a science channel. So the Gamma Ray Report, my sister's channel, it's a science channel. So we're not going to go there and be like, is President Trump going to boom, boom the Islamic regime, right? Like that's not the purpose of her show. The purpose of her show is to talk about the science behind it. So it's an apolitical channel. So remember, if you're coming there from Iran Revolution Live, be on your best behavior and respect her rules. Respect her rules. And no political questions because it's not a political channel. However, you can ask questions about boom booms and the science behind it. And then that way, I actually think it's very cool that she's doing this because, you know, we literally hear about this in the news all the time, but we don't really know what it means. So this way we can sort of like figure out what's going on. And who knows, maybe you guys will see some silliness from us, because if you guys haven't already seen, guys, if you want like to see some like behind the scenes footage of me and my sister having fun, go to her channel, her YouTube channel, and there's actually me reacting to my sister pretending to do ASMR. So there's sort of my sister and I just being silly, being goofy, having some fun. And yeah, so you want to see exclusive content of the Ghamari sisters behind the scenes, what we're like? There you go. Make sure you follow her channel. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. This has been The Goldie Show. I'm Goldie Ghamari, and now you know. See you guys tomorrow.